Hi everyone, and welcome to the next stage of the setup of the HSD L39 jet. On this one I want to show you what settings I have in the multifunction unit, and hopefully this will get you on your way with a basic setting. So you'll be able to work away then from those settings and just fine-tune things to your own personal styles. Right, so to switch on the multifunction unit, you press the white button and the black button to the right of the white one simultaneously for a few seconds, and there you see HSD jets lights up. It then reverts to a main screen, and as you can see, it's now showing that the battery voltage of each battery. The batteries are in the front of the model. I'll talk about them in a bit, but the multifunction unit is also a battery backup. So you have the two battery inlets there and there, and the multifunction unit is based off SBus. It's designed that way. You can run it off other formats, but let me say it's predominantly set up for SBus. So I have just the one wire you can see here coming from my SBus port and into the end of the unit. That's all you need to do if you are a few-tarby user. The red light is on the receiver at the moment because I haven't got my transmitter switched on. So that's the only reason the red light's there. The green lights should be flashing. They also change as the battery goes. So you've got green, then they'll go to amber, then they'll go to red. But you have this LCD display anyway, so but the facility's there. Right, so I'll show you what my settings are now. So you have to go to the white button, press and hold, and your first setting that you see, setting option, is a systems setting. So to go into that, again, it's just a matter of pressing quickly the white button, and you will see there it says receiver. So again, select receiver by pressing the white button, and here you've got the choice of voltage, and you can see that my receiver voltage is set to 7.4 volts. Please ensure that if your receiver is not capable of taking 7.4 volts, that you're using the 6 volt setting. Right, so you press the red button and it'll come back. Now throughout this the HSD process, where it says auxiliary means servos. So now we're going to set the voltage for all the servos throughout the aircraft, including retracts and nav lights. So there you will see again I've got them set to 7.4. You can have them set to 7.6, but they are all digital high voltage servos. But it's interesting to put it to 6 volts, and you will notice the difference between 6 and 7 in how fast the movement is and response is. And it is much better on the 7.4 volt. So again, the red button to come out, and now we're going to do the voltage to the nav light and gear retracts, and again you can see it's 7.4 volts on this one. Because of the nature of the retracts and nav lights, you will see the options are only off or on at 7.4 volts, hence that these two batteries here are two cell batteries, 7.4 volts. Okay, so let's go back. That's all there is in that menu on the settings. So we'll go down to now auxiliary aileron. So again, auxiliary is servo, so we're going to now set the servos. So I'll choose by pressing the white button. Auxiliary 1, sorry, you will come into here now. Bear in mind, keep thinking this is for air along servos only, so we've chosen auxiliary 1, which will be servo 1, so the left wing air along servo. And you again press the white button, and this is for servo reversing this section. So there you can see that I've had to reverse the servo on the multifunction unit, and I also did this on the transmitter, because if you didn't, I couldn't get anything into sequence as per the setup, because you have to set the transmitter reversing exactly as you set this. So you would have to change in your transmitter, you would have to reverse that servo in your transmitter also, otherwise they just flopped about. Basically they were very juddery like that. Okay, so red button again and come out, and you go down to the next one, and this is what you would use in your transmitter as endpoint adjust. So here you adjust the final movements of the aileron. In this case it's aileron servo 1. If you can see, it's 80% endpoint adjust. The endpoint adjust, as you've seen on the previous video, is on the transmitter is at 100%, but the multifunction unit overrides the transmitter. So you would come back out of this. So let's say is up. So then this would be the endpoint adjust for the down movement of aileron 1. And again you can see set at 80. There's no need for differential at all in this model, so hence the up and down throws are equal. I choose now auxiliary 2, which is servo 2. So this is the right hand aileron servo, and the process is the same. You would just choose whether you want to reverse or not, and endpoint travel. Again, they're 80% to match the other servo. Right, so if we move back now, and we'll have a look at number 3, which again is endpoint adjust on the elevator servo. It's the same format, so all you have to do is select with the button, select again. Now you can do the reversing of the servo if required, and also these are the endpoint adjust, which you see on the elevator is 90% endpoint adjust. I had this down to as far as 80 previously, but my preferred setting is 90% movement. And again, in this format you would go there to do the second elevator, because each elevator half has got its own servo. So again, 1 will be the left servo, 2 will be the right servo on the elevators. So come back out into the main menu, choose number 4. This is the rudder. Again, same format. You can reverse and you can do the travel on the rudder. So now we will go down to section 5. Sorry, I missed that one. This is for the flaps, and it's exactly the same principle. So if you look at the first, number 1, I've got the reverse on that one. Go back and travel. I've got number 1 travel at 50%, so this is my halfway of flaps on my first setting of the flaps. Not actually a halfway, but it's good for the takeoff flap setting. And sorry, it's a little bit because I'm looking through my phone at this, so everything is the wrong way around. and you will see there at 80% of the flap movement. This can be increased up to 100%, but I've kept it at 80 because you need at least half to, well, 50% to 60% throttle power when using the flaps deployed at 100%. So I've got an 80 for the landing flaps and a 50 for the takeoff flaps. So if we come back now out to the main, you have auxiliary 5, and this is then the travel setting for auxiliary 5, but that is actually a spare channel. So underneath this multifunction unit there's plenty of wires, believe me. I wouldn't even know how many, perhaps 30 wires, and so there is a spare servo if you wanted to do something else and add. So that's what that one's for. So if we move again to number 7, and what you've got on number 7 is you have throttle CP. So if you, CP stands for, or is an anagram for coupled. So what you've got in this section, you can actually couple up the elevator to operate with the throttle if you had pitch change, but I've not found it necessary. But as you can see in the first part there, I've actually inhibited use of this just in case it doesn't clash anything with the transmitter, but you can see it's off. So that's setting the coupling of the elevators to the throttle is inhibited, so it's pointless going into the other settings. In the factory settings we're now looking at flap coupling, so flap to elevator, and it comes from the factory settings with some down elevator mixed in with your flap. But I found, to my expense, and 3 weeks without a model, waiting for a new set of wings to come, that this is not a good one to set up. So as you can see again, I've chosen off and inhibited it. But the model anyway, providing you're flying slow enough when you deploy the flaps, you don't need any elevator with the flap. Now it's a good indicator also if when you're flying and you deploy the flaps and it does pitch up, that means you're flying too fast. So you know, it's an indicator to actually slow down and you're going too fast for flap settings. So okay, now you've got a choice. So number 9 is electronic landing gear, and on this you can set the type of operation it has. M4, that is, let's say, the sequencing number to make all the doors and gear deployment and retraction work simultaneously and not to foul each other. So I have CM4 on that. You can actually set it up to do different things, and then that's what all this is here. So if you set it to CM1, CM1 is that you can put, well, not that you can, you have to put all the timings to the delay, let me say, and to each door. And it's a long process. I've tried to do this, but to be honest, there is no reason at all to do it, because you are the factory setup is perfect, and there's no reason to change anything at all. But if you want to do, you can do. So we'll go back to the main menu. Oops, 1 too many. I'm hoping you can see things better than what I can through the screen here, because the writing's a little bit blurred. Okay, number 10, that setup is for if you have air retracts, and it's exactly how I showed you for the electronic one. You can change all the door sequencing and everything else, and gear, you know, the gear speed of deployment retraction. Okay, we'll look into now the next setting, which is to configure the lighting system. That's right, 1 second. Navigation, there we go. So this is for the lights now. If you go into the first menu, these are always on. If you want to set the lights up yourself, you would have to go into the lower setting, user control. And once you've gone to if you select user control, you have to come back, and then what you have to do is go to set each light up. So each one of these is, so it will be flash slowly, flash quickly, double flash, one flash, etc. You can choose all this in the system, but I prefer the factory setting up. I have done this, but for me the plane is more visible as it comes out of the factory, with a slow pulse on the navigation lights and the landing lights permanently on. So I haven't gone into that one too much, but this will be a personal preference one. Okay, this section 12 is about the afterburner light. Now the EDF model of the L39 doesn't have an afterburner light, so there's nothing in there, but these multifunction units are standard throughout the HSD range. So that functions in there if you've actually got the turbine model, which does have the afterburner light. So we'll jump down to the next one. This is wheel brake, and this one's quite important for setting this up. So we'll just run through what I've got. So the brake selection, number one, what you do here is you choose electric brake or air brake. So this has got the electric retracts and electric braking systems. So as you can see, it's on electric. Then you go to number 3, which is the electric brake, and you can come in here then and set the different settings for how the brake works. So the strength I have at 80%. This allows the model still to move when it's been braking, but it's good in respect that if you have it at 100%, the wheels lock, so it would basically skid to a stop. This is not bad on grass, although still not ideal, but on tarmac or concrete you would go through tyres like nothing. So I have it set at 80, and this allows the model to move at a slow walking pace at full power. So if we come back now, and you're going to choose the next one, again the strength, so this is just basically doing the same thing. So you've got wheel 1, wheel 2, or main gear 1, main gear 2. And then if you come down now and choose the timing of it, I've got mine at 0 seconds, so as soon as I hit the switch for the braking, it happens straight away, the braking. So which for me was quite important, that you got it straight away. And number 4, this is the start of it, is set to 20%. So what's happening there is it's slowly feeding the brake on also. So it's, let's say, like a speed adjustment for how the brakes work. If it's at 0, they work, everything goes immediately. But it takes a few seconds. By setting 20%, it takes it a few seconds to reach its optimum performance, which is less stressful on the braking system. There's one setting there, might be on the next setting. So if we come right back again, no it's not, so we'll have to go back into it. There is a setting, which you can't see at the moment, whereby you can choose whether you will have a pulse or solid braking system. The pulse system is like your ABS on the car. So it's, let's say, gives the power, doesn't, gives the power, doesn't, while you've activated the brake. But I found this a little bit inconsistent, so I have it set so it's on all the time. But with the settings where I've got with the reduced amount of power and slow time into the full power setup. So for me, this is quite important not to have the pulsing one, but again, this is down to personal preference. Okay, so we can now go to 13, which is S-Bus. Now, as I mentioned, there's multitude of ports underneath, and what this S-Bus settings for is if you don't want to go with HSD settings, that's fine. So you would take a servo that is S-Bus compatible, and you would do that servo to this channel, and then it would you can set each servo up pure, you know, a full setup as you would with S-Bus. But for me, the settings that are from the factory are fine, so I have nothing set at all in S-Bus. Okay, this factory resetting in number 15, be very careful with that, because if you choose select and enter, what it does is not reset the settings you've put in, but it wipes the whole unit clean and there is no settings. So avoid that one if you can. Don't be tempted to see what happens when you press enter. You can look in there, but as I say, if you choose that, then it goes all the way back to nothing. The memory is emptied. Right, finally is product information, and when you choose this one, it gives the number of this multifunction unit. So each unit will have a different number, and HSD's website. So that about wraps it up for the HSD multifunction unit settings. I hope it's been of use to you, and if you have any questions, please leave it in the comment box and I'll get back to you. Okay, thank you for watching.